Okay, so welcome back, guys. We are here with another episode of Minding Our Business podcast. I'm Razmadi.
And I'm Dr. Khadijah.
And we have a special guest today in honor of Women's History Month. We are celebrating women in business, and we have Macy Harrell.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
So, Macy, just tell us a little bit about yourself, or a whole lot about yourself. You know, from the Posh Connect to Macy Media.
Oh my gosh, you want me to tell you about myself? That is the toughest question. Well, since we're speaking about career, I'll say that I am a publicist and branding director by trade. I've been in the business for about 10 years, representing health, lifestyle brands, fashion brands, athletes, entertainment, all sorts of things, doing all the things. And my job is to control the way the public perceives your brand and every way possible. So that's my jam.
Gotcha. So tell me, why the switch from Posh Connect to, why the switch?
Oh, wow. That's quite a story. I actually started the Posh Connect with someone who I had a personal relationship with, who's awesome. And she was someone who made me believe that I can run a business, and I didn't even think I could at the time. So I am forever grateful to her. Since then, we've just gone in different directions. Our career goals have changed. She had different aspirations. I was kind of taking off in the realm of PR and branding and saw myself being there long term. And so when our passions changed, I decided to go in another direction, and I wanted to change the target market for Macy Media. So now we're not just representing everybody like we were at the Posh Connect. We are more so focusing on marginalized groups and giving them a voice in the media. And I like that. I mean, I liked what I was doing with the Posh Connect. I'm so proud of what I was able to do under that brand name as well. But I think that this one is more tailor focused and honed in on what is important to me. So
that's good. And that's the key. That's the most important thing. We want to do things that we are passionate about, that brings us joy, because at the end of the day, this is what we're doing for most of our day. So we want to, feel good about what we're contributing to the world. So I commend you.
Thank you. It was hard. It's never easy starting over with anything, even though it's just a shift in a name, just, starting a new entity, new branding, new identity, being known under this new name. It was tough. It was a lot tougher than I thought it would be. And you really got to see in retrospect how much you had built prior. And I was like, oh, so I did put in a lot of work in the last 4 years, and now I have to start from scratch. But it's not from scratch, it's from experience. So yeah, it's hard to start over for sure.
And were you able to take some of the connections you made from Posh Connect over to your new brand, or did you have to go back out into the trenches and begin networking all over again?
I took all of them. So I took all of my connections and all of my clients with me. They didn't even a lot of them didn't even notice the difference. As a publicist and branding director, it's interesting because you don't really have well, some people do, but your clients' brands tend to take precedence over your own in many cases. I'm trying to shift that in 2021, maybe, we'll see. But so as far as that being known as a publicist, that was already concrete. So my clients just saw me, oh, you changed your LLC name. I'm like, okay. Then they just paid me under a different name. So that transition was easy. It was more about building the marketing materials and the collateral that goes with it, the messaging, that sort of thing, rebranding everything.
Okay. Oh, exciting. Like, what drove you to this career? Like, how did you decide, I'd like to go into branding and PR? Because that's not, a lot of people don't know that that's a career path. So like, how did you get there? How did you make that decision?
That's a great question. So I have always been a writer and a creative person. So those two things coexisted. And I didn't really know how to monetize what I was doing. Everybody just told me, Macy, you need to be a writer. You're such a great storyteller. You're so good with words. So I studied journalism. in college for my associate's degree, and for high school, I was always writing in the school newspaper, editing, things like that. And then I just kind of came across the other side of that career, which wasn't the actual media. It was the publicist who was pitching the media. And I was like, what's that? And then I later found out that Samantha Jones from Sex and the City was a publicist. And I was like, wait, so what do you do exactly? For the longest, I didn't understand. I don't think a lot of people understand what publicists do. They think they just go to parties,
Yeah.
show up
And
to
you
stuff,
network.
and network. And I spend a lot of time on my computer. When I'm not on my computer, I'm probably at an event or something like that. Not, pre-COVID anyway. But more times than not, you're actually building relationships with people virtually, sometimes in person. You're controlling the way the public perceives the brand. You're coming up with messaging, you're writing press releases. You are, I don't know, coming up with story concepts. So a lot of times you see stories in the media, like you watch the news, there's a good chance that a publicist pitched that story to the media. So in many ways, the publicist has some sort of control. I don't want to say control, that's the wrong word, but the publicists do have a lot, they contribute to the conversation that we see in the media quite a bit, more than you know. So they're behind the scenes, they're like the middleman.
Yeah.
When you see somebody interviewed on a show, for instance, one of my clients was on Fox this morning, it's because I had that relationship with the media to say she would be a great asset to this conversation and you guys should bring her on. That's what the publicist does. He or she also is the one who's helping your client interview better, understanding their messaging, be more succinct. A lot of people tend to ramble like I'm doing. I don't usually interview, I'm usually the publicist. So sometimes you have to know when to stop speaking. We do something called media training. That's a huge part of it as well. And then the branding side of it is I was also into graphic design. I don't know if you guys remember MySpace, but do you guys remember MySpace?
Yes, who would forget MySpace?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I guess I was fairly big on MySpace before the term influencer was a thing, because I used to make these really cool layouts. I taught myself Photoshop and I just had an eye for design. And it was like the div layouts, or DIV layouts. So they weren't just the standard format, and the people would just kind of hit me up for that. But in doing that, I learned coding and I learned graphic design. And I'm like, okay, I like being creative, I like pictures, and I like writing. How do I blend the two? I got to college and my professor pretty much said on the first day, my journalism professor, he said, if you want to make any money, don't go into journalism. And I was like, what? Well, I was shocked because I'm like, what are you talking about? I've been studying this forever. And the people I aspired to be were journalists. I thought that was my identity. But I got turned on to another career path that way, and I haven't really looked back. Started in fashion. No, actually I started in IT, moved to fashion, and then the rest is history. Now I'm here.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
You kind of touched on creating this perception or working with clients and trying to mold how society perceives them on social media, in their life. Now, how do you do that for yourself? Like, how do you separate you personally from your brand? Because I know sometimes we want to be out here doing, hood rat things with our friends and living our best lives, but we also have a brand that we're associated with, and we look a particular way on our brand. So how do you kind of separate the two for yourself? I mean, I would like to know, because I'm asking for a friend.
You know what? That's that's a legitimate question, and it's actually a hard one for me too. As I alluded to earlier when I was talking to Razzie, it's like I can tell someone straight away what their brand message should be, how to change it, how to improve it. But when it comes to myself, it is a challenge. For sure. There are many times I scale back from social media completely because I don't know who I want to be that day, or who's going to look at my profile. Is it going to be like a celebrity's agent looking at my profile, or a media, or is it going to be like that girl I hated in high school? I don't know.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that discourages me from wanting to be so present, and it's crippling, actually. It really is. But I think where I've gotten a lot better at the mental part of that situation. And I think now it is more of me saying, just come as I am, because I'm good enough. And who I am with my friends is the same person I am in the boardroom, and you could take it or leave it. Especially being self-employed, it's really empowering to know that I choose who I work with. I can say I'm not representing this client. I can say I don't want to be a part of that campaign. I think that's negative. I think that's dangerous to put in the media. And it gave me more jurisdiction of who I am online. So I took that pressure off of myself. That might not be the best solution for everyone. I am a B2B practitioner, which means business to business, for anybody who doesn't know. So consumers aren't really finding me on social media. My clients have come from word of mouth. And I'm okay with that. If you see something on my page that is about, anti-racism or about domestic violence and that troubles you, I don't want to work with you. And that's just that. So I feel a lot more comfortable just speaking out from who I am and not who you want me to be on social media. And it feels a lot better.
I love that. I know a lot of us find it difficult. I'm speaking for myself, but maybe a lot of other people feel the same way. We find it very difficult to kind of separate ourselves from our personal lives from the brand that we've built. And then, so when we do post on our personal pages or we do go outside and live our regular life, we feel like we have to be, or we have to continue to uphold this, monster or whatever we created, because that's what people perceive us as, when we just want to be regular schmegular people enjoying our lives. So that's a good tip to know, because especially with social media being as big as it is and having such an influence on everyone's lives, it's good to know that although it's difficult, you just have to appreciate you and what you bring to the table as a person,
as a human. Right. Yeah. And I encourage my clients to be themselves. I would say I'm a non-traditional publicist in that way, because I think when people think of publicists, it's kind of like a nasty word. It's like, oh, this person telling you what to say and how to feel and how to think. And it's actually the exact opposite. I want you to be yourself, but I want you to put your best self forward, because we all have bad days. I don't necessarily share when something awful happens to me on Instagram. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm comfortable with. Maybe someone else is more comfortable to do so. But I have clients that are a little bit, edgy, or, they push the envelope in a way, they don't hold their tongue. And I celebrate that. And I like that to come out. I'm not the person that's going to try to put you in a box and shape and shift you into the perfect person. I am not that publicist. So if you want somebody who's going to let you be yourself and get the media's attention for you being you, I'm the type of publicist you would work with. I'm not creating brands. This perception that publicists are just kind of making up stuff. That's not the case. I'm amplifying who you are and giving you a platform and trying to represent you in the best light that's authentic to you.
Yeah. You know who go ahead, Bradley.
No, go ahead.
I was just, as you're saying that, I was just thinking of Angela Rye, who kind of was that one I can think of off the top of my head in most recent times that has been the one that's been unapologetically her, whether she's on CNN or in the comfort of her own home. So hearing you say that and actually seeing it happen on television, it's okay, we're starting to accept us for who we are. And it's okay. We can be a little boisterous. We can be passionate about what we have to say. And it can be received well. So that's great.
Yeah, because it's exhausting when you're living a performative caricature of who you are every day. It's so exhausting. It doesn't last, and you're going to be unhappy.
Of course.
I actually thought about hiring a publicist for my brand. And my question to you is, do you recommend that for people who are in business? Is that something that you would recommend to people in business?
I think everyone can benefit from a publicist if you could afford one and if it makes sense at that time. I don't think everyone needs a publicist necessarily right out the gate, but down the line, I do think publicity is going to be beneficial for every brand. So publicity and brand management. I would have to know more about your brand to say if it's time for you. We could talk about that if you want to, but not everyone needs a publicist right out the gate. As soon as you have an idea, it's not time to hire a publicist.
Right.
So in every situation, it varies highly,
Makes sense. I know I will need your services down the line because I have a goal. So we're going to be in touch because
yeah, for sure.
We will be in touch for sure. But Right now I'm still working it out. I got to talk to
Yeah,
the
well, that's
ancestors.
another, I'm happy you're doing that, because you're self-reflective. A lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, I developed this candle and it needs publicity. Do something with it. It's like there's so much more that goes into making a business
Right.
and to telling a story. Publicity is usually not the first step for everyone, usually. So yeah, a lot of other things have to be in place before you move to that. And I'm also the type of publicist to tell you, like, if you pay me, you're going to be wasting your money right now because you're not ready for a publicist. A lot of publicists won't tell you that.
I like that honesty. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just not time. There will come a time, it might not be yet,
Yeah, that's true. So now let's jump into this whole imposter syndrome thing. We have to talk about it because I do feel like it is relevant. I've personally experienced this. So why don't you tell everyone just basically what it is and the kind of impact it can have on our lives, like mentally, physically. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, so I myself am not a clinician, so I'm not going to give the technical definition, but in layman terms,
don't worry,
I
we're
can
gonna
tell
have
you.
a whole show on that soon. We'll have a whole show on that. But.
In layman terms, I could tell you it's when you've reached, when you're on a journey and you're experiencing success in many ways, and you feel like you don't have the right to be there, you're undeserving of your position, and no matter how many accolades you acquire or attain, you kind of just feel like an imposter. There's this voice in your head, it's a negative voice saying like, you are just a fraud, at the party, and somebody's going to take your mask off and reveal that you are just an imposter. And I think it comes a lot from not seeing, it happens to everyone, but excuse me, imposter syndrome, it happens to everyone, but there are statistics that prove that it's more prevalent in marginalized groups and women of color, women specifically, and women of color, marginalized groups in general. And I think that is because they don't see people in that position that they're aspiring to reach look like them. And so they just feel like maybe that's not attainable for someone like me because they've never seen someone who looks like them in that position. And I've definitely felt that. I know I have.
I think many of us have, and it can go either way. You can realize that there are not a lot of people like you in this role and kind of step up to the plate and be the representation that you want to see in your organization, and of course help people come up and put them in that space. Or you just it's like a fight or flight type of thing, or you just completely remove yourself, retract, and you let all of those feelings kind of take over you and become overwhelming, and you just can no longer be in that position.
Yeah, you can stop in your tracks. It really can cripple you if you allow it to.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I haven't seen the research on this, but I'm very interested in doing so. But I can believe, I believe that there might be a lot of, damage to our mental capacity to just be able to understand how we fit into those spaces, and it can take a toll on us mentally and physically. But I like you, I've been through that in the healthcare space, so I know it's real. And we do need to kind of shed a little bit more light on this because we want people to know that it is a real thing, and kind of teach them how to navigate their way through situations like that. It's either going to be fight or flight. What are you going to pick? But that's interesting. Very interesting. I want to learn more.
Yeah, for me, it was, I was often the youngest person, either the youngest person or the only person of color in every corporate position that I've held. And so I was the minority. And so I didn't see anyone who really looked like me in a position, at least at my agencies that I was at, a position of power or authority, or having a real voice, a shared voice. So when I was achieving things, like I had clients on Good Morning America. I designed some really amazing sites. I had done a really amazing celebrity engagements and, your Today shows and your Forbes and all that stuff. And it sounds awesome on paper, but it just all felt so performative. It was like, wait, did I do that? Or I kind of got it by accident. I got lucky. But I had to shift the narrative in my mind that was telling me that these achievements were separate of me.
Right.
It was because of my ability that I had gotten to that place where I had a team, or where I could now have my own agency or my own company, or be the leader, or have the voice for once. And that was because I deserved it. So showing up for myself, and anytime I achieve something, really celebrating it and saying it wasn't by chance, it's because I worked my ass off for it.
Yeah.
So it really had to change the narrative there. But when you have those accolades on your resume and you're achieving things, I think you have to focus more on that than what you don't have.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Or how you got it, because you got it. So if you focus on the data, you really can't discredit data. I have statistically achieved this because I'm capable. And it's just a matter of changing that voice in your head to talk about what you have done. Kat, you've succeeded every time you tried, and that's not by chance. And if you didn't succeed, it's because you're human, not because you don't deserve to be here.
Totally.
You know?
Well, I'm happy you were mentally strong, and you were able to withstand all odds. And I mean, look at where you are today. That's definitely a testament to you deserving to be where you need to be. You've worked hard. You've busted your butt for this. So although those maybe the past opportunities or the past jobs, careers didn't work out, but like,
thank you.
Look at where you are today. So I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of all of us. I'm proud of all of us. I think we do need to celebrate each other. You know, I think we really do.
That is true, for sure. Because I could tell you some stories about that PhD program, girl.
Oh, forget it.
Oh my, I'm
here. We all have some type of story to tell. Definitely.
That's for another day, another show. We don't got the hours for that. We don't. But great job. Keep up the good work. Like,
thank you, Khadijah. You guys are awesome.
We definitely will want you back on again.
Thank you. I would love to. I love your little dancing. You know what you gotta do, Razzie? You gotta, when you edit it, you gotta just crop in on Khadijah, like a just little.
Oh yeah, we do a
moment of her dancing.
That's my happy dance. I'm happy that we had this discussion. Like definitely happy we had this discussion. Although it was kind of short, it was very informative. I feel like we touched on a lot of things. Before we go, I would ask you, from the PR perspective, what are 3 tips you would give to someone who's maybe looking for a PR to represent them, or maybe wanting, let's do this. 3 tips for someone who's wanting to become a PR, like work in PR, I'm sorry. What 3 tips would you give someone who has that goal and that's what they're striving to do?
If you want to be a publicist, with any career, I would just try to tap into why you want to do it. Everything feels more fulfilling when there's an actual purpose attached to it. Because I think at the surface, PR can come across as a little superficial, but really you are telling stories to the world, and a lot of those stories can be important. I know for me, working with healthcare practitioners in the health space has felt so much more fulfilling. So really think about what niche you want to tap into and why. And I also would be a sponge. Don't ever get to a place in your career where you stop learning. This is one of those ever-changing spaces. It's not like something where it is just ever-changing. I'll leave it at that. So be ready to change with it. Sorry. Be ready to change with it.
With any career, you never stop learning.
Right, for sure.
With everything, yeah.
I also would I would say intern. I definitely would say intern. I don't think everybody has to be an intern for 500 years. I'm not of that school of thought, because there's a lot of dinosaurs in PR. You can tell them I said it, that tell you got to intern and work for free forever, or either just they don't want you to have your own agency after 5 years of being in PR. They don't like that. But definitely learn from others, and put yourself in positions where you can meet other people, because it is about knowing people to some degree. Make sure you're a strong writer too. Communication is key for publicists, and storyteller. So if you're a storyteller, a writer, you understand the pragmatics of it, then you can do it. You can absolutely do it. And have a thick skin. Is that more than 3? You gotta have a thick skin in PR because it's a lot of no's.
Oh yeah.
A lot of no's we don't talk about.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't do it, because if I had to hear a bunch of no's, I would cut my locks off. We wouldn't.
Yeah, it would crush your spirit. It can if you allow it. But that was a whole nother mindset shift I had to make, and you know, a whole nother story. Not taking those no's personally. Now I could just, you know, I already know that I'm.
All right,
I'm
next person.
Next. The story wasn't for you. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Let's not forget, if it's something that you really want, you know, don't give up. Even if you hear no's, you know.
Right.
You gotta keep at it.
And that's another thing why it goes back to choosing the right niche. You have to do something that feels authentic to you. Otherwise, you can burn out really fast and you'd be like, why am I living my life in servitude to other people's dreams? Because that's essentially how it feels sometimes. It's a thankless job. But if you believe in what you're doing, it makes it so much easier, so much more fulfilling. So I found the place that makes me happy with PR. Yeah.
That is amazing. God bless you on your journey. I know it's going to be you're just like at the surface. You've got so much more to do. And I know we're going to be hearing great things about you, even better things. You're going to be all over it. I'm putting that out there for the ancestors and the spirits to receive.
The ancestors.
Yes.
Where the money resides.
Where the money resides.
That's where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So this concludes another episode of Minding Our Business podcast. Thank you so much, Macy, for coming on again.
Thank you for having me. You guys are so fun.
Okay, bye. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Sonic Sponsor Beats.